This presentation will be on presentation techniques. I will do it in English, and the combination makes this unique for this course. So it is speaking English and at the same time the presentation technique. But this is also something that you will have to do when you meet with foreign colleagues. It is interesting for you to follow this presentation because you can have advantage from this. And there's also a need, because if you go abroad, you have to really, you are, let's say, the face of the Dutch Tax and Customs Administration. That means that they see you as, let's say, the administration coming from abroad. So you have to prepare for this very well. And it is interesting, I would say it's interesting for you to look at this and to see how it should be. My presentation should be a kind of example how you should do this. But everybody does a presentation in his or her own way. Absolutely, this is not a copy of what I'm doing. I will take about 30 minutes of your time to say a few things about presentation techniques, and you can ask questions if questions arise. So you do not have to wait till the end of the presentation, you can do it at once. And I will organize the questions within this half an hour, maybe 40 minutes then. Yeah? My objective is that you will be able to deliver a presentation in line with certain standards, certain general standards, but that it can be recognized that this is that it is a good presentation, that people will not easily forget your presentation. That is basically the idea. So that is the objective, and the components of my presentation will be 3 components. First of all, the structure of a presentation. How is it structured? What a kind of frame? How would you do that? Secondly, some behavioral aspects. How to behave when you prepare or when you deliver a presentation for 30 minutes. And thirdly, how to reduce nervousness. If you are too nervous for a presentation, it hinders your presentation. It will not be as good as you think it will be because you are nervous. So how to reduce nervousness, how to reduce tension, although there must be some tension when you deliver a presentation, but if you are too tensed, then then also it will not be excellent. So I have some tips in order to reduce that. This is basically the presentation. That is the introduction of my presentation. Let's start now with the content. Okay, start with the structure. The structure of the presentation is very crucial, and think about the following terms. We have 3 elements in let's say in a 30 minutes of the presentation. It's an introduction. Do not forget the introduction, what I did just a few minutes ago, to introduce the topic, to introduce yourself, to introduce the content, and to put yourself in the shoes of the audience who are in front of you. And sell then your message, because it's doing a presentation is selling a message. Not that you have financially advantage of it, but you sell something that you are excited about. So, introduction, then the body, that's the core element of the presentation, let's say 20 minutes or so, and then a conclusion, so it also has an end. So repeat in your own words what you have said during the last 25 minutes. And I would like to see every presentation that those 3 elements are very clearly divided. And when you prepare for a presentation, you should also prepare those 3 things. A clear introduction, a logical body, let's say the topics that you will explain during the body of the presentation should be in a logical way, and a clear conclusion. And then when you see it in time, then it takes about 5 minutes for the introduction and 20 minutes for the body, the core element, and maybe also 5 minutes for the conclusion to get the summary of what you have said. Let's go to the introduction. What are the elements of an introduction. I will mention 7 elements, but you can use those elements not in the same order. It's up to you to decide how you create your own introduction. First of all, the interest. Why is it interesting for the audience to listen to you? To spend half an hour listening to you? You have to tell why is it interesting for them. And also, why is it needed to listen to this presentation? What is the advantage? What can they learn from this? So that is necessary to say something about this. And in this way you can sell your presentation. You also say something about the time. How much time will you use? Not like in the past people started to talk and ended up 2 hours after that. So say how much time you're going to need, more or less, half an hour in my case. And then how can the audience respond to your presentation? There are basically 2 ways. I've told you that you can ask questions at any time during my presentation. Also now you can do that. Then what is the objective of your presentation? What are you aiming for? That is also clear. I've told you that it's clear what my objective is with this presentation. And then an outline of the presentation. What can the audience expect in, let's say, in time? In the presentation, I will do some structure, I will do some behavioral aspects, and I will do something about reduction of nervousness. That are the 3 topics. I tell it in advance during the introduction, and later on I start with it. And then a link backwards. That means, is there something in the past that leads to your presentation? For example, if something in VAT, there's a new VAT law, for example, you can refer to an old situation which was an undesirable situation. Now there is a new law, and suppose that this is the topic of your presentation, then you link that to that. So, and with the presentation technique, yeah, that's more or less all the time the same. The presentation, I can go back to, for example, Barack Obama, who does his presentation in a certain way, but that's for a different audience. Now I have seen many presentations, and Tony too, also from people of a higher level, and I would say that, let's say, with some tips, the presentation can be improved for all of us. Everybody is on his own level, also myself. I'm not a native speaker. I've done some presentations, but it can also be. It can always be better. Can always be better. Yeah. So these are the 7 elements of an introduction of, in fact, any presentation. Now I'm starting with the body, and the body is then the core element of the presentation. And in this body, there is a golden rule to be applied. So, and the golden rule is, let's say, for each item, so structure, behavioral aspects, reduction of nervousness, I apply the following rule. First, say what you're going to say. Then, say it. And then, say what you just have said. Also, you see here, introduction, body, conclusion. So for each item, you start with an introduction, then the body, then the conclusion. Maybe you think, well, this is very silly, people, they know, but you should not forget that you have prepared for the presentation, and the foreign delegation who is sitting at the back, they know that we are going to talk about VAT or about the client behavior or whatever the topic is. But nevertheless, they have not prepared for this. You have it in your mind, and you have to bring this message as clear as possible. Well, the application of the golden rule is one of the rules that you should apply. So, then for each item, so we have 3 items in the presentation, it can also be 4, but for each item, Say what you're going to say it and say what you just have said. That's the golden rule. And then at the end of the 3 items, there is a conclusion. Then it's a wrap up of what you have said. So let's say you review what you have said in general words. And if it is possible to think about a final statement of your presentation, then people will remember your presentation much more than not. So for example, you should think about a one-liner. So about presentation technique, do not forget that introduction, body, conclusion. That is always, for the structure, a very useful thing to know. And you will not forget, I'm sure that you will not forget. A final statement. And if you have a link forward, that something is happening with your topic, in this case on presentation techniques, you can look forward and say, if that happens, think about this. So then the whole presentation has a beginning, something in the middle, and an end. It's like having a meal. It's a starter, a main course, and a dessert. Or an animal, a head, a body, and a tail, you know? So then the circle is round. This about the structure of a presentation, simple tips, but you have to apply it, and you have to do it in English. And that makes it a little bit more difficult. But you can also use it when you have a presentation in your own language, in Dutch. Also then, those rules should be applied. So it is general knowledge, you know. Do's and don'ts. So some behavioral aspects. So now you have the structure that you have in mind, but now how to do this? First of all, prepare. The preparation of your presentation is 80% of the success. That's why you have to know, when you are asked to do a presentation, I would say 2 weeks prior to that moment, you should know that you're going to do a presentation. So that you have time to look up references, to speak to colleagues, to take notes, and to draft your presentation in introduction, body, conclusion. Yeah? So take your time. And also, if you have prepared, and it is important, and presentation is always important, and especially in English, because it's for foreign delegations, try it out. If it is possible, try it out. Ask your colleagues to come into a room and do the presentation, ask feedback. How am I doing this? That is a good thing. If there are no colleagues, or the colleagues cannot be trusted, for example, or whatever, you can also do it at home. Alan, you have a partner, you say, put your partner on the sofa and you do the presentation. And he listens to you and you do the presentation. If you have no partner, there's always a mirror. There's always a mirror. Put your watch on, let's say, on the desk and do the presentation while you're looking at yourself, so that you are a little bit relaxed to do this. Because if the moment is there and then you have to do the presentation, I'm quite sure that there will be some tension, some nervousness, which is maybe not necessary at all. It's possible. So prepare yourself and try out. And try out. There was once a person who had a high position in the second chamber. There was for public finance, and he had to do a presentation for the people from the second chamber. And he said, and he was really sky high, I would say, compared to me at least, and he said, I want to practice this once more. So please sit in the back of the room where the presentation will be held, and give feedback. So also, he knew that it was important to deliver a good presentation. And then use one visual aid. Sometimes it is possible to use that flip chart when the group is very small. We are here, this is a small group with 4 persons, and Tony is also a trainer. So with 4 persons, so we can use the flip chart, it's possible. But if you prepare for a presentation for maybe a little bit larger group, maybe 10 or so, then it is handy to use the PowerPoint. And when you prepare it well, and not lots of text on it, but let's say simple words on it, it should support your presentation. It should support the words that you speak to the audience. Yeah? One visual aid. And never over-inform. If you are a VAT inspector and a client coordinator for small and medium enterprises, you have so much experience, you want to tell everything to this group, yeah, that is too much information for them. You have to structure this information in something that is needed to know, something that is nice to know. But don't over-inform the audience. If you give too much information, they will lose the direction, I would say. Yeah? Be in time in order to feel comfortable. Tony and I, we were here at 9 o'clock, more or less, 9 o'clock, in order to feel at home in this room. Because, and maybe for yourself it's the same, if you have to make a presentation, to do a presentation somewhere, be in time to feel comfortable. And mingle around the audience. If the audience is there, maybe a small talk with some, that also gives you an insight in what kind of people will I talk to, and that's also gives you confidence. Be in time to feel comfortable. And then start when you have full attention. Too many times I've seen that colleagues of us, they start their presentation and then there's some people were buzzing around. Small talks were busy and he started his presentation, he or she started the presentation. So if you start a presentation, just stand in front of the group, try to have eye contact with everybody, make sure that everybody has attention to you, then start the presentation, only then. And then never start with an excuse. So it might be the case that it was maybe 10 years ago when you had your last presentation in English. But don't tell the group. Because if you say, it has been 10 years ago since I spoke English for the very last time, I hope that I will make myself clear. But yeah, but then what happens is that Nicolette was on a paper and she will count all the mistakes that I make in English. And then that is not the idea. So although it is true, and it was 10 years ago, don't say it. Don't say the excuse. Suppose that your child was ill yesterday, and that's why you could not prepare very well for your presentation. So you know that your preparation was not sufficient. Nevertheless, you have said that you will do this presentation at that moment, the day after. Eh? So that means that, yeah, you have to do this presentation. Don't tell them that you did not prepare well because of the fact that your son or daughter was ill, although it might be true. Yeah? So don't tell it. Keep eye contact. That is also important. So you see sometimes speakers, and yeah, for them it is difficult to look people in the eyes. So they stand like this, you know, or to the ceiling, and they are maybe a little, and especially with a flip chart, they are behind the flip chart, so, and that is, yeah, that is not, you know, if you are behind. So eye contact, have eye contact with everybody, and with everybody more or less in the same way, the same duration, because suppose that I would look at Nicolette, yeah, for longer than 4 seconds, then yeah, Alan, you would think, what is happening there between the presenter and Nicolette? So that is not good. Pay attention to everybody in the group in a more or less equal way, because David is as important as Nicolette, as important as Alan. Everybody is important. And you are a facilitator when you make a presentation. A facilitator for you. You are the main part of the room here. So pay attention, have eye contact with everybody in a more or less similar way. Also when you handle questions, that comes later. So emphasize on keywords. That is what I'm doing in my voice, my intonation, and also with my hands. You have seen that I have not my hands in my pocket. I have not my hands on the back. I have my hands like this. So I support what I'm saying with my hands. And also in my voice, I try to emphasize on the core elements of what I want to say. Emphasize on keywords. And then move. You're not a statue in front of the classroom. Here there is not much room to move. First of all, everybody should be able to watch the screen. That means that if there was some person sitting here, I should pay attention that also this person can see the screen. And not that you stand here and that he has to look like that is. And also when you have a full room, when everybody is in the corner, also people sitting there, you focus mainly on that part of the group and not in the corners. So you deliberately have to pay attention to people who are sitting in the corner because they are as important as any other person in the group. Yeah, and move, not with the hands on the body, on the back. And sometimes you see people are walking like this, you know, and then it's like a tennis game for, this may be nice for you, Ellen. It's a tennis game that you are looking at the presenter, but he is walking from left to right. And yeah, that is, it's also not useful to walk like this. So, because you cannot have eye contact, you must look at people. Or look at Hank, for example. He's reading a paper now, or he's doing something else. But now he pays attention. So I compliment him with this. And of course not, although, sometimes you see presenters, they have a cup of coffee, and then it's their time, so they drink a cup of coffee and a hand in a pocket, and, you know, and they are standing like in a cafe, and that is not good. You have to be... When you are in the cafe, then yes, but normally you do not present in the cafe. So please pay attention to everybody and do it with full power. And not with coffee, because that is too relaxed. And also the hand in the pocket is also relaxed. So don't do it. You are there for them. And you have prepared yourself and sell your message. And then handle questions. So there is a question. Suppose Nicolet is asking me a question. I listen to this question. I wait 3 seconds. I make sure that the other ones have also heard that question. Then maybe I repeat the question in my own words. Check with Nicolet whether this was the question. And then I will give an answer. If I want to involve the group, there's also a possibility, because I see that Henk knows the answer. I can ask Henk, what do you think of this question of Nicolet? And then Henk can be involved. And maybe the answer is for 50% okay. Then I will explain about the other 50% of the answer of the question. That is possible. But basically the thing goes like this. So somebody's asking the question, I hear this, I listen, I wait 3 seconds, then I will give, maybe I repeat the question, but then I will give an answer to the question. And then I check at the end with Nicolet, have you understood? And when she nods like this, she is satisfied with the answer. And suppose that the answer is also correct. Now, how to reduce nervousness, because if you have to do a presentation in English, and maybe a director is also available, your own director is available in the group, then it can give some tension. My first presentation was in Brussels. I did a train-the-trainer course in Hungary, and I had to report back to an audience of 120 people from 60 countries. And it was my first presentation in English, although I did the course in English, but it was my first presentation. So I would say there was a reason to be a little bit nervous. Well, quite nervous. So what to do? What can you do? First of all, take a breath before you start. And keep on doing so. So, you know, but you do not breathe like you are a mother. Ellen, you or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you when you are having a baby, I've seen it myself, but no, not myself, but my wife then. So, and that she's breathing, let's say, in a complete other way. Then she was not very relaxed. So relax through the belly and etc. and like this. Okay, come on, let's go. And have reasonable expectations of yourself. You're not an entertainer. You're not an actor. You are yourself. And be yourself is more than okay. So have reasonable expectations and relax. That is tip 1. Then tip 2 is do a presentation as if you are talking to one person, because I'm speaking now to Nicolette. And Nicolette is listening to me. But at the same time, I'm talking to David. And at the same time to Henk, at the same time to Ellen. And if there are 10 people or 100 people, it's a face-to-face conversation, but then for more people at the same time. If this is a mindset, if you put that into your mind, it is not that there is a block of people in front of you who are, let's say, like a tiger, who are trying to eat you. So it is a one-to-one conversation, and that is often not a reason to be nervous about, if it is one-to-one. So if this is a mindset, and you have to do it for yourself when you are preparing, if you feel I'm nervous, okay, do it as if you talk to one person, but then at the same time. Have a glass of water nearby, without gas. A glass of water, and you can use it if you have a dry mouth, because if you speak for half an hour, you might have a dry mouth. And you can speak with consumption, you know, you can see that. And, well, people notice this, they will notice it, they will see it. And if it feels good for you, then have a glass of water and have a drink, and okay, and then go on. And also maybe a pen in your hand, as you are, let's say, a conductor of the orchestra. You are selling a message, and you are conducting this message, and the orchestra is the audience. So you can use a pen in your hands if you do not know where to leave your hands. Because basically, when you present, your hands are along your body, but that doesn't feel very natural. So that's why I'm doing like this. But you can also use a pen, and not a big pen with the click, 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 because that disturbs from the presentation. Anything that you do that disturbs from the presentation is not good. And then, if you have a total blackout during your presentation, you can prepare for this by defining a question to the audience that they will think about, so that you have more time to find yourself back, to recover from, let's say, the black box that you're dropped in, that you're in. For example, nowadays horizontal monitoring is very important. Everybody speaks about horizontal monitoring in the Netherlands. And it's a new way of supervision, and suppose that this is a part of your presentation, you can say, okay, please take a piece of paper, take 1 minute and write down what you think are elements of horizontal monitoring. If you have a blackout, then use this question, and you can use it during the, but basically not, only when there's a total blackout. Because then they are thinking about this, you link this question to the topic afterwards, and then you continue. And then the audience will not notice at all that you have a blackout. But suppose, you never know, eh? You never know what can happen. And you prepare this, of course, in your preparation time. Also a way to reduce nervousness, because you are certain that you have always a question, and you can use this question. And then the last point, never overemphasize the importance of your presentation. Although it is important, It may be much more important than the paper that you have written, that you have taken weeks for this, and you have sent the paper through email or whatever to your colleagues. That is also important, but the presentation, face-to-face presentation, is really important. Most of the people will remember this. He was the one who had this presentation. It has influence. So don't overemphasize the importance, but know that it is important. If things go wrong, okay, next time you do it better. The more you know the reason why it went wrong, the better it will be the next time. And this ends, let's say, my presentation. I have spoken to you about the structure of a presentation, about behavioral aspects of the presentation, and about the reduction of nervousness. Don't forget the introduction, body, conclusion. And the introduction has 7 elements. And all those elements, you can use the elements, but basically you have to give answer to those 7 elements. And you do it in your own way. Then the body, apply the golden rule. Then the conclusion, review, and try to find the final statement and a link forward.